Peace, family, darling, the cosmic queen and your intergalactic interpreter, and we're here to talk about the full moon in Sagittarius. And right now, I just want to let y'all know that, first of all, welcome to the Aetherium. This is my spiritual sanctuary where I am pioneering the spiritual practice of cosmic wellness, and you are welcome here. I'm grateful for your presence. We are glitching the matrix today. This is a timeless reading. Whenever you find it, there are messages that are going to be in it for you to receive. However, our focus is on this energy that is coming in tomorrow on May 23rd. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd. And when I started this reading, when I initially did this reading, it was 22:22 on the clock. And that is significant because 22 is a master builder number. 22 together is, that has to do with divine union. I restarted this reading because I'm going to just be very honest with you. I just started new meds, and it's like taking a little bit of time for me to get acclimated to and used to. So what I wanted to share with all of you is that we're going to do this a little bit slower vibe, a little bit of a slower energy, because that's just how I feel like this reading needs to go. It's a slow, gentle energy, and I feel like that is what's being encouraged to come in. I see 1, 2, 3 on the timer, and 1, 2, 2 is also significant. That's what's being encouraged to come in right now, is this energy of slowness. Okay, so maybe you're being called to slow down right now. Maybe you're being called to do things and take a more gentle approach. And what I am feeling is if you've been kind of go, I have to put myself out there. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to be a part of the machine. No, you don't. And you're being encouraged not to fall prey to that kind of programming, that kind of indoctrination, that kind of ideation and ideology. That's just not true. Okay, that's just not true. That's not who you need to be. That's not how you need to be. I feel like what I'm picking up is that some people are just really feeling completely out of alignment with their reality right now. And, here in the Aetherium, when we talk about divine union, we're not just talking about our romantic relationships, because that's not what the cups are about. This is about 𝗪𝗪 union. So let's talk about the twin flame journey, okay? The twin flame journey, it's like two halves of a whole, right? And we want to be getting that kind of energy. We want to get our hearts flowing and just have this flow of unconditional love that is associated once again with 222. That's what we want. But unfortunately, when our heart is broken, we do not get that flow of unconditional love, because our heart is it's disparate. So we're spilling out from our cup. Our cup is our heart. You know what I mean? And if it's not even activated, I know folks who say that narcissists and NPCs, they don't have activated heart chakras. And so their cup is empty. Their cup is empty and they cannot create anything. When your heart is broken, that messes up your sacral chakra and vice versa. So these two parts of our ability to manifest, to create, really is what it is. I want to stop using this term manifestation so much and maybe start switching into 404 on the timer, switching into the language of creation. So for our ability to create in the 3D reality. When we talk about manifestation, that really is just in the 3D reality, 420. But when we talk about creation, that's in all dimensions of existence. And I think that it's really important for people to divest from your focus, your absolute focus, and placing this 222 on my screen and 244 on my screen. So lots of twos, lots of fours here. This is definitely talking about ancestral inheritance. This is definitely talking about union, like I said, and it is definitely talking about Shambhala is what I'm getting. So we're talking about divesting from this idea that the 3D reality is the only reality. It's like the most important one. It's actually not. And part of the reason why you are finding yourself to be struggling in the 3D reality is because of the struggles that you are experiencing in the not unmanifest, but the unseen. Okay, because it is actually manifest, but it's unseen. Perhaps like magic, for instance, if somebody is doing magic on you and you don't know what's happening, but you know that you are experiencing something that seems unnatural. By all means, it doesn't make sense why this is happening in your life. It's not unmanifest. The source is just unseen and unbeknownst to you. However, it is manifesting. Okay, if somebody is doing magic on you to steal your, I'm hearing destiny swapping. So it's potentially like some of you, it might be that somebody has been attempting to steal your destiny. That is to say also 246 on the clock. That is to say that perhaps they're trying to steal your divine inheritance, your spiritual inheritance. They and for others, for other people, your spirit team is leaving you because of all of the wickedness that you've done. For some of you, you're not, whatever powers you inherited, whatever protections you inherited, whatever spirits you've inherited to work with you and help you, they are leaving your ass because you are evil, and the shit that you've done, you have lost your spiritual protection and you're not getting it back, not in this lifetime. Because you have shown that you're not capable of being able to handle that kind of energy. So spirit is, your ancestors even, they're like not fucking with you because they're tired of like the kinds of trouble that they've had to deal with. Because of your actions and even because of their own actions, you know what I mean? But you haven't alleviated the burden for the ancestral lineage, because what we do affects 7 generations before and 7 generations after in all directions. So whatever you've done, you're not, you've brought more issues and they're not willing to help you anymore. Some of you, this is actually your own family that has done witchcraft to you and on you, and they're being removed. They're being removed. What does that mean? Well, what do you think it means is what Spirit is saying. That's what it means. I'm seeing like a family tree, like in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, where I think that they destroyed Sirius Black's portrait on the family tree. His mother did, I think. Yeah, that's like what I'm seeing is like you're being removed from the family tree. Karmic. So I do feel like there are karmics who are watching this. And what I have to tell you is that you shouldn't have messed with the chosen one, because the righteous energies and spirits, and even the not righteous ones, first of all, the righteous ones know who to choose. And even if they're your ancestors, they're not going to fuck with you. They're not going to be on your side. They're not going to help you to bring wrath upon the bloodline. They're not going to do that. So you see, like, some of them, for me, some of y'all's ancestors will come and tell me the shit that you've been doing. They'll come and they'll tell my ancestors, and they're working on my side because they know the wrath that's going to come upon them if they help you with the shit that you're doing. And if they don't tell on you, that's what happens when you're a chosen one. Some of you, it's like these more malevolent spirits, these trickster spirits have been sent to do stuff to you, and they're just like, I'm not going to do that. Ones that have a little bit more, I'm not going to say integrity, but ones that are just a little bit more just like, I guess, blasé, they don't care. They're like, I don't need, I'm not like, that's not worth what it's going to cost me. Like, whatever you have to offer is not worth what it's going to cost me. And then others of you, it's like, oh my God, because it's a Sagittarius full moon, we are rising beyond veils. Like, the truth is being uncovered. That's the thing about Sagittarius, is we see the truth. Okay, like these are higher dimensions of consciousness, higher forms of consciousness. Okay, this is why they're philosophers. They're always attempting, really, it's even beyond just like shooting out into the stars. It's like combing through, digging through. It's a very investigatory, I don't know if that's even a word, but investigatory energy and archetype, digging through, especially the past, in order to find answers to what is to come. So it's not just about like, that's the philosophical nature, but these higher wisdom and higher, I'm hearing epithet. You're rising in your rank. You're rising in your rank, and you are like, whatever's been keeping you down from being able to receive this higher vibrational awareness, wisdom, and knowledge that is your birthright, it's being removed right now. It's like being sheared away. And it was a veil. It was a veil of like forgetfulness, yes, but also a veil of like just it was obscuring your ability to see and to know clearly. It was obscuring your ability to, and it was obfuscating. It was confusing you. It was scrambling your codes. It was scrambling the information that was being channeled down to you. So you'd have to do more work to perceive of what it is you were trying to perceive of. Okay. And you may have known all along, like, this is not like, there's more. I know that there's more that I'm supposed to be. I know that there's more that I'm supposed to know. 12:13 on the clock. I know that there's more. Exactly. Like 12, that's the 12 zodiacs, 12 houses, 12 signs of the zodiac, rather, the 12 disciples, but actually there's the 13th. The 13th energy is the goddess energy, the 13th sign of Ophiuchus, okay, which is a doorway. The 13th disciple, which was Mary Magdalene, okay, this trying to keep the divine feminine wisdom out, trying to obfuscate, to obscure the Holy Spirit, to obscure the divine feminine wisdom. So a lot of you may have been going through a Kundalini awakening lately. And I do find like that if you are somebody who menstruates, every menstrual cycle is a Kundalini awakening, essentially. Information starts at the root chakra and works its way up your energy center, which is your spine, and out of the crown of your head. And that is going from that new moon to, which is, the cycle starts over again when you actually get your period. And we're adults here, so we're going to talk like adults. I'm not going to, treat you like babies and idiots. The information goes through your body, up through your crown chakra. You get this realization, you get this wisdom. It's like the world and major arcana, and it just flows out of you. And anything that's not meant to stay is let go of and released, and we are clarified. And then it starts all over again, because this energy, we think that it just goes up and then it's like out and it's over. Like, no, it's a cycle. Okay, it's a Taurus, Taurus, and we've just ended Taurus season in tropical astrology, but we're still in it in sidereal astrology. I want that to stay as something that is being like you, for you to bear that in mind. And so it goes out and it comes down and it flows down, and we come back to this energy in the root chakra. So we're going through this purification at all times, or you're just recycling energy over and over. But what you should be doing, because as it works through the root chakra, through the crown chakra, that is when you are meant to be in an alchemical, when you're supposed to be being an alchemist, as the information travels through your chakra system. And how can you do this in the active moment? You can be present in your body. You can be mindfully aware of what's going on in your body, so that you know what you're experiencing and how it's affecting different chakras, and how it's showing up in your body, so that you can heal what is going on in the ethereal realm. And, you know, in cosmic wellness, we talk about this here in the Aetherium. We go from, and I kind of actually have switched it to this idea of, we have the realm of consciousness and spirit inextricably linked, and that is filtered through the mind and into the emotional body, down into the causal energetic body, and that's fire. And then it manifests in the material due to our actions or inaction. However, actually, your body perceives of information, your body receives information before your mind does. Because of your senses are what allows your mind to parse through the sensory external stimuli that you receive and process through that. And then you develop however you feel about it, you know what I mean? But that's not even true, because like, you may experience something and you feel bad about it, but you don't know why you feel bad about it. And once you figure out what, then you think about it, you ruminate a bit, maybe it might take you back to past memories, so that you can do some like shadow work, memory work, timeline alchemization, by going back and remembering, oh, that's why I feel this way about this thing. But that mental work all happens because of you receiving that external stimuli and feeling a certain type of way towards that external stimuli, towards that situation that you're in. And then you figure out like how you hopefully figure out how you feel about it. And then you do or you don't do something about it. But not inaction is actually action. Taking no stance like is still taking a stance. You know what I mean? So it really is actually, in a way, they're not inextricably linked, but they are inextricably linked. The mental body and the emotional body. I would say that these are lower vibrational expressions of that same inextricably linked spirit and consciousness realm. So one doesn't, and we were talking about how I saw 2222, 1818 on the clock. I saw 2222 as a bunch of 22s, a bunch of 2s all over my screen, a bunch of 4s all over my screen. And 1818, it means, for me, it's 9 and 9. For me, cycles of completion. You and your counterpart, you're both on that, you're both ready to go. Your counterpart, if you have a counterpart, if you are someone who has like that twin flame engagement. But all of us experience divine union, because like I said, it's not just your romantic partner, it's your entire experience, your entire life the atmosphere of your life. What is the atmosphere of the vibe, if you will, all of your relationships to everything around you? That's going to tell you how you feel about something. So, what is the vibe between you and, let's say you have 5 friends, right? The vibe between you and one of your friends is perfectly synchronistic. It's resonant, like it's so generative, and you all you are your best possible self with this person. And even when you are going through a dark night and a transmutation period, like they are there in whatever capacity to support you through that, even if that means that they're not there at all because they're not meant to be. But when it's time for y'all to come back together, it's no problem, and you can just come back together as if it's nothing, right? That's one of your divine counterparts. That is divine union. Okay, that is indicative of the fact that, like, when you are with that person, you are in twin flame union within yourself. Because, like I said, it's about balancing your energies. Okay, it's about, let's talk about molecules. Molecular charge ultimately always balances out to 0, but certain compounds have more electrons and certain compounds have more protons, but they always balance out to 0. Okay, think about it this way. So when you're like, oh, negative energy, positive energy, like when you're talking about feminine energy and masculine energy, all of that is loaded within the context of the colony, the way that we've been indoctrinated to experience these ideas, essentially, makes a person not want to identify with certain aspects of themselves. Some people might be like, I don't want to be identified as masculine, so that's not an energy for me. Or, oh, if I identify, like, I've said this in TikToks before, I've said this plenty of times before, in any given situation, we might be the masculine or we might be the feminine. But when you are overly identifying with one or the other, you are not fully in your truth. You are not fully self-sovereign. You are not fully yourself. You don't know yourself if you are still pledging allegiance to one or the other. And that's just the fact of the matter, because we are transcending these veils. And what are the veils? They are the Hermetic principles. This principle of gender, or the law of gender. That's not true, as I'm saying, because we know that ultimately these molecules equal out to 0. When you are truly in resonance with yourself, when you are truly integrated, you are your own twin flame. Exactly. You are unconditionally loving, you are flowing forth, and you have to be in unconditional integrity in order to experience this. This is Christ consciousness. This is when we are activated in our high heart chakra. But as long as you are denying your feelings about things, as long as you are pretending that you don't feel what you feel, you don't want what you want, you don't not want certain things, as long as you are pretending that a reality that is not resonant for you is okay by you, or it's what you're working towards, you cannot have, that means that your heart chakra is broken. It is not it's not functioning optimally. When you get to your high heart chakra, has to be your heart chakra has to be activated and clear to a certain frequency for your high heart chakra to be activated. And when your high heart chakra is activated, that is when you activate the frequency of Christ. The crystalline heart is activated within you, and you are in divine resonance with the crystalline frequency of this planet. Okay. And this is when you just like activate higher consciousness, activate higher DNA. You understand what I mean? And this begins to, it just like the lower carbon DNA just like pours out of you. All of that traumatized DNA that got passed down from your ancestors, it just starts to just fall off, and you stop finding yourself. And I talk about this all the time. These are the timelines. We recreate these misery complexes, I like to call them, but these trauma timelines, we recreate them over and over and over again until somebody says, stop, I'm going to heal this, and it's no longer going to continue on, at least not in my part of the family tree, my part of the bloodline. I am divesting. I am starting a new flow of this river, blood river. I am starting a new, what are these called? It's not a thoroughfare. Rivers. You're starting a new stream of the river. That's not what it's called. I'm really struggling to remember. I'm thinking like I grew up outside of DC in Maryland, and so I'm thinking of like the Potomac River and the Patuxent River. So we did like learn those words, but I can't remember. I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but basically that we're breaking off, we're branching off and creating a new bloodline, essentially. And that's a lot of the work that we've been doing. If you identify as a chosen one in your bloodline, you have been the black sheep, you have been the persecuted one, you have been the one who, you had to go through those experiences so you wouldn't feel a kind of commitment that those who are accepted in the family unit, in that hometown energy, in that culture, you wouldn't feel an allegiance to them because you know that they don't have an allegiance to you. It's not benefiting you in any kind of way. So you're more willing to go off and do something new. You're more willing to start something new. You're more willing to go against the grain because you know that whatever you do, you can't win for losing with these people because they've chosen you to be the scapegoat. So you can do anything that they ask you to do. You can be the person, you can be the perfect image of what they've wanted you to be, what they've told you they've wanted, but it doesn't matter because to them, you will always be that dumpster for everything that they hate, all of the taboos, everything they hate about that family. You are the dumpster for all of the family secrets. So likely you've experienced so much trauma. Like that's one thing that people don't recognize. Like some people, like I do feel like some people might hear about like, oh, 2636 on the timer and another 36 on the screen. But some people might hear like, oh, chosen one, and think like, oh, I want to be the chosen one. Why do you get to be the chosen one? Or like, that sounds so nice. I wish that was me. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want to be persecuted in almost every single space that you enter into. You don't want to have to fight for your life in almost every situation that you find yourself in. You don't want life to be a constant uphill battle for yourself. That's not something that you should want, and that's not something that you should be calling upon yourself. You know what I mean? This is a huge, heavy task to transmute all of the karma of a bloodline. Generations of trauma, and we live in the colony. So you have to understand every single family is impacted by colonial violence, whether or not you remember it. So certain people who have certain privileges above others in this time in the colony, they don't even remember the colonial trauma that their ancestors experienced because they don't even know about their ancestral culture. And that's fucking hard to heal when you don't even know what you're looking to heal. You understand what I mean? And this is why you really ought not be looking at other people's lives and thinking, oh, their life is so much better. I wish I had their life. You don't know what is going on in those people's lives. I know there are plenty of people who wish that they had my life, and they have no idea the kinds of things I have experienced in this life. And if they did, they wouldn't want to go through those things, but they would still sit here and be like, oh, I really want your life. You wouldn't want to go through the kinds of assaults that I've been through. You wouldn't want to go through the kinds of abuses that I've been through. Don't ever look at somebody else's life and and think that that's what you want. What you have is exactly what you're capable of handling. And if you can't even handle the kind of trauma and drama that you already inherited, that you already have experienced in your own personal life outside of your inheritance of trauma and drama, epigenetically, and also through the indoctrination of the first and foremost institution of socialization, which is the family unit, these are the two ways which we inherit the trauma and drama of our ancestral lineage, epigenetically and through learned behavior. It is not nurture versus nature, it is nature and nurture working together. Okay? And if you don't know, if you can't even deal with what you've got, you better not go around asking for something else that somebody else has got. Because also, if you come from a family and they don't do magic, you better not be wishing that you were from somebody whose family does magic. Because I can tell you this much. In my country, everyone knows that magic is real. It was a very big part of the civil wars that we've had since the 80s. Like, the amount of ritual magic that happened in my country, like, is known to every other country in West Africa. The amount of ritual magic that happened in my country was written about in American newspapers. Okay, so when you see, you don't know, you have no idea what other people, what kind of demons, maybe even literally what kind of demons somebody is battling. Meanwhile, you're wishing that you had their life. You need to come into union with yourself. You need to accept yourself. You need to know yourself and love yourself in spite of everything that has happened to you and because of everything that has happened to you. If you identify with this chosen one experience, you have to know how blessed and highly favored you are. You might think that because of how many terrible things have happened to you in your life that you are not blessed and highly favored, but it's actually the fact that you survived and you leveled up each and every single time that shows that you are blessed and highly favored. Because your ancestors know that you are the one to liberate them. You have no idea how many ancestors are in spiritual prison. And a lot of this is because of colonization, because almost every indigenous society around the world prior to the colonization of, first the tribes of Europe by the Roman Empire, and then the Americas and Africa and the Caribbean countries, and also, specifically in Asia, Japan did a lot of the colonizing, but we live in this global paradigm where this Western culture that is historically derived from the Roman Empire, which at one point was called the Holy Roman Empire, and every royal in a Western European country was answering to the Vatican because they were the Holy Roman Empire, and they were going around colonizing with their missionaries. Because of that, this is what caused the witch hunts in Europe specifically. But they did these practices on the tribes of Europe, and they found what heinous abuses worked best, and they took that and they did that in other cultures and other continents across the globe. And they knew how to torture people into doing what they wanted them to do, being who they wanted them to be. And we know that this is true. We know that this is why Santeria exists the way that it does, with the saints, basically with the saints and this face of Christianity, but underneath is still mainly the one and indigenous to those areas, those Caribbean areas, like the Taino people, and integrated with the African indigenous spiritual systems, because they had to hide in order to not be tortured. 3313 on the screen and 313 on the screen as well. So this is significant. Okay, they had to hide in order to not be tortured, in order to not be unalived. And so these practices that all of our ancestors had of atonement, of transmuting the pain and the suffering and the taboos of the tribe. Those practices, which would have been called pagan practices in Europe, but and heathen practices as well. Like in Europe, they would have been pagan practices. Yeah, and I guess in like African countries and stuff like that, they'd call them like heathen practices. But these practices were banned and not allowed to be practiced anymore. So there has been a buildup of spiritual detritus whereby the tribe, the lineage, no longer knows how to transmute the trauma and drama and bullshit, as I like to call it. They don't know what to do with it. So they just suffer with it. They just struggle with it. And they sweep it under the rug, and it just perpetuates itself. And it just continues itself. 3, 4, 4, 3 on the timer. It just continues itself. And this is why we have so many cultures of abuse. The statistics for how many people have experienced child sexual assault in some capacity, especially within the family unit, are staggering. The statistics are staggering. And why? Because there's no proper, most families do not properly they don't have the tools to deal with these things, and there's not effective retribution and accountability and healing for those who've been affected by it. There is a process that has to happen for each person affected by it, which includes the whole of the community. And back when I saw a bunch of 4s, I knew that ancestors were here. And I'm specifically channeling Celtic ancestors. I channel Celtic ancestors a lot. I'm pretty sure because both my grandfathers are Americo-Liberian, and my mother's family is from her Americo family, migrated to Liberia from Kentucky. I'm pretty sure that they have Celtic ancestry and also Indigenous American ancestry. But I channel Celtic ancestors a lot. A lot of my clients are of Celtic descent. And actually one of my mentors is of Celt Irish and Colombian descent. So, but there are definitely Celtic ancestors here right now that I'm channeling, that I'm communicating this message through, or they're communicating this message through me. And this is the way that it was. These are also things that I've studied in my university studies and that I plan to continue studying. And basically, it's this idea that like everybody in the tribe was affected by something that happened to one person. And so everybody in the tribe had their role in an experience, whether it is just being part of the tribe and therefore being someone who's in proximity to the experience, the situation at hand, or if you were the person who was victimized, or if you were the victimizer, or if you were the family of the victimized, or the family of the victimizer. And each person, confirmation verb, also, there are African ancestors here, West African, descended from Nubia. I am getting like not Dogon tribe, but definitely Nubia, Kush. Nubia, Kush, and the kingdom of, I'm also hearing Dakar. So maybe like you might have ancestors from Senegal. The kingdom of Zimbabwe is coming up as well. But yeah, so this idea of everybody had their role to play, and each person had a process that they had to go through for transmuting this experience on a biophysical level, and that in effect, that tied into the spiritual as well, because those are inextricably linked, as I've been saying. So you have to understand that because due to colonization, there is a backlog of trauma, drama, and bullshit that our bloodlines, many of us, our bloodlines have not healed from, have not recovered from. And if you know that you are the chosen one of your generation, of your family, and I also want to point out, I've talked about this before, but chosen one narratives are narratives like Harry Potter, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sailor Moon. Those are chosen one narratives. And one thing that I want to point out is those people always had a community. They always had a team to support them. Specifically in Sailor Moon, like she had the other Sailor Senshi, the other sailor soldiers who incarnated into this lifetime to help her achieve her mission of stopping this darkness. And she was only activated, they were only activated because of the evil that was activated on the planet by Queen Metalia, okay? Think about in terms of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy thinks that she's the only one, but she has Giles, who is assigned to her from a team of people who have been training to train the Slayers, the Watchers. He is trained, he has been prepared his whole life to train the next Slayer, and it is Buffy. And because the magnitude of evil that had come to the planet Sunnyvale, you have to remember, like, why Buffy didn't live in Sunnyvale. She moved to Sunnyvale because she got kicked out of school because she burned down her school in Los Angeles. She moves to Sunnyvale, and it so happens that Sunnyvale is the hell mouth. It is the portal into the hell dimension. And because of the evil that is let loose on Earth throughout the seasons, a bunch of other Slayers get activated. So Faith gets activated. And like all of these girls, they're always girls. I will point that out too in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There, all these girls get activated and they all end up having to go to the Hellmouth, Sunnyvale, and like train with Buffy and Faith so that they can defeat this like ultimate evil that is unleashed upon the earth, right? And in terms of Harry Potter, that is a more specific one because he didn't have to be chosen necessarily. Like it was between him and Neville. And if Voldemort hadn't done anything with that prophecy, it could have gone a whole different way where he would not have been, where he wouldn't have died or like been reduced to the form that he was reduced to if he hadn't gone after the prophecy. But because of Lily's love for her son, which we can also assume that if Neville's parents, if Neville had been chosen, and Neville's mother probably would have done the same thing to jump in front of her son to protect him from dying. Like, if he had done nothing, probably he wouldn't have been destroyed. But because he went after the prophecy, he was destroyed by a baby. And because of that, like, Harry's life was marked from the very beginning, and he had to deal with like being the quote unquote chosen one his whole life, even though he didn't want to. He lived a horrible life. I think that people under 42 on the clock undervalue the terrible life he had. He was being seriously abused. Like, we're all just like, tra-la-la, Harry Potter, he lived in a cupboard. He was being seriously abused. He was being starved. He was being beaten. Like, he had a terrible, terrible life. And also, like, having his parents maligned, living in this experience of poverty when he didn't have to. Like, he had a horrible life. And these are the kinds of things that happen to chosen ones. You know what I mean? And then, so some of you, it is that, like, there's this idea that, like, somebody knew that you were special. Because of the veils, they didn't understand to what extent you were special, 4334 on the clock, but they didn't understand to to what extent you were special, but they knew that you were. And they've been trying to steal your destiny, to steal siphoning your energy, siphoning your power since you were born. Some of you, like Sloan Bella also talks about this. And I knew this before because this is like something that I've channeled also. These occult groups, they can see, like, you're practicing astral projection, you're practicing going into the Akashic records and things like this, and if you are masterful at that, you go in and you see what you have to see. They know that this is this, or they might even have someone giving prophecies for them. I knew my sister was engaged to a billionaire who had a psychic on retainer. So whenever he called her, she would basically have to answer, even if she was like driving and stuff. Like he would like be like, well, pull over. You know what I mean? So these people, you think that like this is all made up shit? I'm telling you it's not. And I come from a political dynasty. I've had access to many billionaires. Most people will never meet a billionaire in their life, and I've had access to many. So you might think that they don't be on this shit, but they really do. And most of them use astrology and things like this. So just know that much. These people, people who are into the occult and they are trying to manipulate reality, they can see like this bright light, this bright energy, this star seed. You might think like, oh, from a different star. No, if you are celestial, like celestials are star consciousness, and they are above planetary consciousness, and they are like terrestrial consciousness or planetary consciousness, what have you, which would be above comet consciousness or like moon consciousness. You have to understand the gravity of these things, because a moon is a satellite to a planet. A planet is a satellite to a star. And then stars are in galaxies, and so on and so forth, super clusters. So so they can see when somebody like this is going to be incarnating and pinpoint you and try and track you down and hunt you down, and throw magic on you. And they could do that your whole entire life long. And some of them do. Or they just might like do things in the material in the social world to control your life. Some of you might feel like your entire life, 4646 on the timer. Your entire life you've been surrounded by, like, you've been put into these specific scenes. You know what I mean? You've always, like, you went to, like I said, Buffy moved to the Hellmouth. You know what I mean? They were guided there by some force that pushed them to the Hellmouth. Or it might be that, you have triple letters putting honeypots in your, sending out honeypots to date you. Isn't that part of how they destroyed the Black Panther Party? Yes, it is. Isn't that how they brought down the civil rights movement? Yes, it is. Exactly. So don't sleep on yourself. I'm looking at this and it says it's a battery pack. This is a battery pack to charge phones. And look what it says on it. Okay, elite. Your energy is elite. And they know that. Everyone who comes into contact with you knows that. Everyone who comes into contact with you knows that. But they might not have the conscious awareness to understand how or why. There were times in my life when I met people who had to tell me what I was. I walked into this party, New Year's, South Deptford, London, New Year's 2020. It was a very energetically powerful day. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I've talked about it a lot before. And I was walking into the kitchen and this guy stops me and he's like, I know what you are. And I was like, what? he's like, I know what you are. And of course, I felt his frequency, I felt his vibe. And so I was intrigued. And I was like, I want to know more. Because I've also done that before to people when I've been like an open channel because I was inebriated, where I'll just like start reading their energy and like, I know what you are. And yeah, he just like starts reading my Akashic records and like telling me all of this stuff that like there's no way that he could have known these things. You know what I mean? So, but he had the consciousness to be able to reflect that back to me. Or people being like, reaching out to me on Instagram to be like, you have this kind of energy. And I'm like, whoa, that's exactly right. You know what I mean? So I say this all to say, like, you know what you are, and everybody around you knows what you are, regardless of if they consciously understand it or not. So stop sleeping on yourself and stop playing yourself. Okay? That was a foray into like, we went down deep, we dove down deep there to like grab some wealth from the depths and come back up, because this is very important information for somebody. But this is why you haven't been in twin flame union, why you haven't integrated with your divine counterpart. And it's because, like I said, when your heart is broken and you have like these fragmented pieces of your heart, and also maybe your sacral chakra and maybe your root chakra, if you experienced not getting your base tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that would be the physiological needs met. If you didn't have your physiological needs met as a child, chances are your root chakra has been fragmented. If you experience any kind of dispossession where somebody robbed you of your autonomy, if you weren't allowed to have boundaries as a child, if you weren't allowed to have a voice as a child, you weren't allowed to have an opinion, you just had to do whatever they told you to do. If you ever experienced any kind of SA, these kinds of things, one, that's going to fragment your root chakra and also your sacral chakra, because it's going to make you think that you don't have any power to create in your life and that you are not sovereign over your life. And it is going to therein like fragment your sacral chakra, because your Muladhara, not Sadhasana, that's the sacral, but it is going to affect every chakra above, from bottom to top, in different ways. So until you heal the trauma and drama, and some of us inherited messed up chakra systems because of the trauma and drama. And some people may have incarnated, into a bloodline that was very powerful and could hold a very high frequency spirit, but because of the trauma and drama, the chaos, these narratives, which are encoded in the DNA, as I've been saying, this is how the trauma perpetuates. This is why we'll have like whole lineages where every female in the lineage, and some of the males even too, will have experienced interfamily SA. Okay? Because nobody's put a stop to it. So it just perpetuates itself. That's why people sometimes call that the gift that nobody wants, but it keeps the gift that keeps giving, but that nobody wants, is what I think they call it. So you incarnate into these bloodlines and you inherit this chakra system that may have a lot of fragmentation. Like that's what you inherit when you're born. So when people say I was born perfect, no, that's not true. Actually, your spirit was perfect. Even if you have like, what's it called? Karma that you have to transmute or whatever. But like if you were in utero and your mother was depressed and mentally ill and experiencing hardship and lack, You weren't actually born perfect. You were born traumatized and with a predisposition to depression. You know, I have a friend who, because 333 on the clock, because her mom was experiencing poverty when she was pregnant with her, and she wasn't 5353 on the timer, she wasn't getting enough to eat. My friend was born small and premature. And her siblings, like, they got over that period of experience, and her siblings, their siblings, excuse me, were born normal size and are tall people, but my friend is tiny. So no, like, the circumstances that you are born into literally have so much impact and effect on your life and your physical body, your mental health going on throughout life. So you might have inherited a messed up chakra system that's like also may even be short-circuiting because of your energy, your high frequency, you know, your frequency being so high. And this is why it's so important to do this like spiritual healing work, this shadow work. I walk people through this kind of work. I've done it many times before. Before I started offering self-sovereignty coaching, I actually worked with several different clients for free to make sure that this was something that I could offer and to fine tune this program, to make sure that the results spoke for themselves, and they do. You can go check out on my website. I have nothing but 5-star reviews. So, yeah, book some coaching with me. I'm the one that you want to work with if you want help with healing your chakra systems, and transmuting the trauma and drama from shadow and chaos into wisdom and gold. Okay? Diamonds, platinum, in fact. So, yeah, those of you who have all of this trauma and drama that is keeping you from being your most authentic self, like, you have that, these fragmentations, you can't have an integrated heart. Okay, you can't have, you cannot flow with the ever flowing abundance of the universe when your heart is fragmented, because you can't connect to the high heart chakra to be able to allow that to flow freely through you. Like I said, this isn't anybody's fault. You know what I mean? Like, you inherit what you inherit. The system is working exactly as it's meant to. And also, a lot of folks have had people doing baneful magic against them. But this is why I say, like, we are our own twin flame. We are our own twin flame. You need to love yourself unconditionally and fuck with yourself harder than anybody else, to the point where if nobody else ever fucks with you, you don't care, because you fuck with you. And this has to do with that sacral chakra that I was talking about, because, like, if you don't believe that you are unconditionally loved by a power greater than you, and that is a fundamental, foundational fact of your existence, you're always going to be at war with yourself and with the universe, which is a power greater than you. If you don't even believe that there are powers greater than you, you're definitely going to be at war with the universe constantly. Those people seem like they're happy, but they're not. Those people are narcissists. And narcissists are some of the most miserable people on the planet. They will tell you themselves. Most of them are highly experiencing very, very powerful SI. So you're not gonna learn how to live a happy life from the kinds of people who believe that the all is mind and that they are the end all be all. No. Sorry. It's just not going to happen. You may be able to have some power over the known universe, but that's the known universe. And scientists already know that we don't know shit about the known universe. And then there's more out there that we don't know beyond what beyond the scope and capacity of the known universe. So please get off your delusional high horse and join us back here in reality, because that is another big part of what is keeping people fragmented. When you balance your energies, it's a spectrum, it's not a binary. When you balance your energies, when you heal yourself and you come into full integration, then it all flows clearly. It all flows clearly. So if you're wondering, and it glitches, yes, it glitches the matrix. And when you bring that vibe and that flow and that energy and that frequency to the spaces that you are in, it activates that energy in others. So you'll see some people will just naturally have a very violent reaction to you. Even if you're not doing anything to them, they will just feel very repelled. And it's because whether or not these are literal demons or whether they are just figurative demons, it's the trauma, the embodiment of the trauma and drama. Their shadow, their ego wants to protect them from healing. It wants to protect itself. It wants to keep itself alive at all costs. And it knows that your light, your pure, unadulterated light, is capable of destroying it. And it does not want that. It wants to maintain control of the vessel, of the person. So these are people who operate fully from trauma responses. They have no self-control. They just go. They don't know why they do the things that they do. All they know is that they're self-sabotaging and they can't stop. They can't have healthy, loving relationships. They don't know how. They don't know why they can't, but they just can't. It's these people. And those people are going to be naturally repelled from a person who is fully integrated, walking in the sunlight of the spirit. And this is why I keep talking about living in your integrity. That's how you're fully integrated, is when you are in your integrity. That's telling the truth about who you are, what it is you want, and what it is you're not going to tolerate. Because that is out of alignment with who you are as a self-sovereign being who is unconditionally loved. And this is why I say soft life. You got to understand this. And people don't know the idea of soft life actually became popularized on the internet by Nigerian women, because us African women are raised that we're not like, I'm not going to struggle with you. If I have to struggle all on my own, I'm not going to struggle with you. A man, if I'm a cis person, or if I'm in a relationship with a cis man, you are meant to elevate my life because we live in a patriarchy. I'm meant to have a soft life. I'm somebody's child. That's literally what the video that sparked this on the internet, this trend, this fad on the internet, that is literally what she said. I'm somebody's child. Why would you want me to struggle? And this is something that a lot of level up and dating coaches will say is like, if you're not even doing well on your own, why are you trying to bring someone into that? You need to focus on yourself and get yourself right. Like, why? That's a fucked up thing to do. And maybe that's the reason why when we see so many women who get into relationships with guys who are struggling, and then they get to the level that they want to be in and they leave them, maybe it's because it was a trauma bond, and a relationship built in a trauma bond is not meant to last. It doesn't happen all of the time, but statistically it happens most of the time. And it is most women's experience. It is most women's experience. And you see it very often. Look at O.J. Simpson. Look at Kanye West. And those guys, well, OJ is an anomaly because he's a murderer, but, they are not, their perception of reality is not an anomaly to how people who are indoctrinated into the system and still operating from it think and act. They feel righteous in their beliefs because they feel like they're God's gift. And like I said, being a chosen one, that's not, you're God's gift to your bloodline if you actually do the work. But like I said in the beginning of the reading, there are karmics watching this who don't do the work. And that's why you've actually disappointed your ancestors, and they're not behind you anymore. They're not working with you. They're not working for you. I pulled a 9 of Wands. Right now and I got a 10 of Swords. Exactly. Right now, Queen of Cups, 9 of Swords, 9 of Cups, Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Right now, we're in a time where we are being being presented with very karmic situations. It's not like, oh, God's presenting me with this test. No, this is just like, that is what the energy is right now. As I've said, Saturn is in karmic degrees of Pisces right now, tropically. Okay, and I'm actually just going to pull up the chart. I wonder if I can pause the live. I don't know. But folks, I'm going to just give me a second. I really, really need to use the restroom. So you're going to want to just skip through me using the restroom. Okay. Sorry about that. So 9 of Wands, 10 of Swords, Queen of Cups, 9 of Swords, 9 of Cups in reverse, Queen of Pentacles in reverse is telling me that, like, we are experiencing these very karmic times right now. And Pluto is in Aquarius, activating this full moon that we are experiencing. And it's important to note that the sun is almost, but not exactly, almost conjunct with Jupiter and Venus as it is making this opposition to the moon. It's also very close to Uranus at 23 degrees of Taurus. It's at 2 degrees of Gemini, and Venus and Jupiter are at 29 degrees of Taurus, and they are conjunct very, very close to Uranus at 23 degrees. So these energies are very much blending together and making that flavor, which is that spectral energy, that overlapping energy of Taurus and Gemini. Okay. And that's all being opposed by the moon in Sagittarius in the 4th house when it is exact. And they're both having positive, harmonious aspects to Pluto retrograde, as well as Neptune conjunct Fortuna. So this is telling me that because you are no longer settling for less than what you deserve, and you've been presented opportunities to settle for less than what you've deserved, but you're not doing it. I'm going to make an example of myself. How can I put this? Okay, when you're dating and you used to date a certain type of person who was frankly very low vibrational and not really the kind of person that is good for you. And you level up your mindset. And you've gone through the ringer with that, and like you've gone through the dark night of the soul to understand and alchemize those experiences and turn them into the only real wealth, the eternal wealth, which is wisdom. You've gone through all of that stuff. You are now sovereign and you are self-possessed, and you know, like, even though I'm lonely, I'm not going to go back to that person because I know what these behaviors mean. I know what these behaviors mean. I know what these actions mean. I know what it means when somebody says this. And I can tell just by looking at them that this is this kind of person, and they are only going to be a karmic. They are not the person that I am aligned with. And those people will usually be very sparkly to us. Like, they might seem like they shine brighter than everyone else because we are just magnetized towards them as a byproduct of our trauma that has been unhealed. But because we went through the ringer and we have healed our trauma, because we've been through the ringer and we've healed our trauma, despite being presented with these kinds of karmic situations, we are choosing, or we are being encouraged to choose something different. We're being encouraged to choose not to go back. With this 9 of Swords energy, it's like, you know, regardless of what others think, you, 9 of Cups, so it's a lot of nines here, you have to water your own garden, okay? And it might seem very lonely. It might seem like you might be destitute. There were times, you know, where like I basically had nothing, but it was just like, I would rather have nothing than go back to being abused. Okay. And it only appears that you have nothing because the Queen of Pentacles might be in reverse, but that's in the material world. The Queen of Cups is in the direct position. You have everything. You are abundant. You are so full. It's a matter of you. Like, these last karmic dregs, these last karmic timelines are being purged now. And sometimes it's very, very subtle. I feel like the tests right now are very, very subtle because you've already championed the big ones. Some people are going to want you to stay small, to stay in their orbit, but you cannot do that because you've already gotten to this 10 of Swords energy. You already know better. So you have to choose better. You are the master of your domain. They see that you're very abundant and that it's takeoff for you. It really is. I mean, listen to what I just said in terms of like near chasmy energy. We had 2 chasmies last week, 11:11 or 1:11 on the clock, and then 1:11:22 on the clock. We have, give me a second. We have 1:11:22 on the clock, but we had multiple chasmies last week, and we have this full moon making harmonious aspects to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius in the 6th house. Neptune, which is conjunct Fortuna. We've just spent so much time talking about Neptune and being in harmonious resonance. And actually, I'm going to come back to that. And that's in its domicile in Pisces in the 7th house. And this conglomerate of energies with Uranus, Jupiter, Venus, and the Sun between Taurus and Gemini in the 9th and 10th house. So what I was saying about this energy with Pluto, the atmosphere, the vibe. So I'm coming back to that analogy I was making. You have 5 friends, and one of them, like, it's a very resonant relationship and it's very abundant. It's like kismet, it's synchronistic, it flows. It's a good energy, it's a good vibe, and like you are, good things always happen to you when you're in this person's energy, or you just feel like at ease and safe, right? This is a Neptunian energy because it is divine union. When it comes together, it doesn't just make something, but it makes something good. Venus, it's a coming together of things. It's magnetization, but that doesn't mean that it's going to actually be good. It doesn't mean that it's going to be harmonious. So this actually might be your more karmic relationships, those shiny people that I was talking about. So say you have 3 friends and, they're fine. You hang out with them when you see them and they're just fine, but Venus, Neptune is your best friend, we'll say. And the other ones are your friends. You love them, they're cool, whatever, but like, it's not to that same degree of harmony. And then this 5th friend, okay, it's like they're just completely karmic and you don't trust them. They're very passive aggressive. They're a hater. They gossip about your other friends, this, that, and the third. That's not your friend. Like, that's not your friend. You feel me? And what you have to do in terms of your level up with this 9 of Wands, like they've backstabbed you like 3 times, we'll say. Why are you going to allow them the space to backstab you a 4th time? You think that the universe is going to trust you with your divine inheritance? You think that you're going to be able to come into divine union with your best life, with your best romantic partner, your best career, your best home, your best life, when you have someone who you are actively in an intimate relationship with who is sabotaging those things for you? Do you really think that that's what's going to happen? No. And it's not even because, God's not going to allow you to have that. You're not in resonance with it because this person is keeping you down. You cannot come into resonance with what you are not in resonance with. It's a mathematical algorithm. You don't have to over personify everything. God doesn't give us more than we can handle. The universe, in terms of it being a mathematical equation, you cannot come into resonance with what you are not in resonance with, period. So if you're having all these karmic situations, you got to understand, what is it about me? What karma do I have to clear? What actions do I need to change? Because karma is the Sanskrit word for action. What actions do I need to change in order to not be experiencing this anymore? And then you get so much wealth because that's the wisdom that's going to carry you through the ages, and you water your garden with that. And no matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody tries to throw at you, you keep on choosing. And I do feel like we've been in this karmic ass period where, we've had so much being thrown at us to keep us trapped in these karmic cycles, to keep us resonating in these low vibrational frequencies. We've had so much being thrown at us. But you have to keep on saying no. You don't go back into the fire. You go and you hydrate yourself. You go and you heal yourself. So other example is, okay, so you have these friends and it's like, it's a good time. So this one's down, right? It's a good time. And so you have an empty space. What you need to do with this is you need to fill this empty space with what is divinely resonant. Okay, so I have so much more time and energy now that I don't have this karmic ass person in my life. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to fill that time and energy in that space with what's actually resonant for me. And what is that? I'm not going to sit here and lie to myself about it. Oh, because this group of friends, we had the same look, we listened to the same music, and we liked the same kind of parties. And that's why we were, friends. And now I get rid of this person, and who am I going to go to these parties with or whatever? Who am I going to serve looks with? Fuck all that shit. This is why you're in a reverse Queen of Pentacles energy, because you don't have any sovereignty over your emotional and mental life. You would rather look good and have karmic experiences than live a peaceful life and maybe not flex on hoes at the club or whatever. You feel me? So this one is down. What is it that you actually want? What is it that you actually are into? You know what I mean? Go start doing that. Maybe you've always wanted to have a garden. Or maybe you've always wanted to own a business and this person was always cutting you down and talking shit and making you feel bad about yourself, reminding you about all of the reasons why you wouldn't be a good business owner. Now that they're out of your life, now it's time for you to spend that time and energy investing into starting that business. So then we have these 3 other friends and the 4th friend, which is your divine, one of your divine counterparts. They are part of your divine union, your best life, because it's divine union with your experience. Okay, with your life at large. Stop thinking about, oh, my romantic partner, just one other person. That's some colonial bullshit. You just have to get over it. So then these other 3 friends, it's like, okay, like you like them, they're cool or whatever, but you know, y'all don't really have the same goals. You don't really talk about the same kind of, like, they don't have the same goals as you. And they kind of might like be smaller thinkers than you. They don't necessarily even have the same philosophies. Like maybe on the surface, you know, this one, they say that they have the same philosophies, but deep down inside, you know that their principles are not aligned with the things that they say. And for that reason, you don't really trust them. And that's why they've never been able to really be your best friend. Then this other person, you know, is a really small thinker and they just like don't understand why, you know, you'd want to like be a business owner. Like they support you in that, but they don't really understand why. Or rather, I'm going to put it this way. And it's because they don't believe that they could do that. They also want to do that, but they don't believe that they could do that. They have an inferiority complex, right? And so you start, but this one friend is always just encouraging you, but this other friend, when you're busy going to like workshops and seminars, and maybe you even like take you go to get your MBA, Master of Business, you know, maybe they stop really fucking with you, you know what I mean, because they feel some type of way that you don't have time for them anymore because they're clingy and codependent and they feel entitled to your time. But this one friend who's always been resonant because they are self-autonomous, they are self-sovereign, they understand that your success is their success and their success is your success. And also, they don't really actually have anything to do with one another. Y'all can have an interdependent relationship because they're self-sovereign. These other mofos, they can't do that because they're not self-sovereign. Everything is contingent upon how what you do affects them. And they have to make sure that they're manipulating you and getting you to do what they want because you're really just an object to them. You're really just an accessory to them in order for you to serve that purpose in their life. And you start going and you start taking your classes and you start getting your business license and you start like applying for these loans and stuff. And they're like not supportive in various different ways. Or you can tell that they're like secretly jealous, even though you've done nothing but perhaps encouraged them to also start a business because you know that that's what they want. You invite them to the classes, you invite them to the courses and the workshops, the networking events, but they're just like, they're not going to go because of their inferiority complex. Or, you know, they are just like, they get up in arms when you don't have time for them anymore. Like I said, these people served your life for a season. Yeah, y'all may have had fun times together, but now they are but a karmic lesson. They are not 1, 2, 3 on the timer. Exactly. It's time to move forward. They're no longer in resonance with you. And it's not like, oh, how did I not see this before? You were a different person before. This was before you got to the 10 of Swords. You were at the Ace of Swords before. That's when you decided, oh, you know something, actually, I need to level my life up. You know why? Because I'm just tired of living in this. I'm tired of having this job that I have. I'm tired of any job, actually. Like, you got to a 10 of Swords and had an Ace of Swords moment. I'm tired of working for other people, I realized. Like, I thought that if I worked in this industry or this industry or this industry, that it would work for me and that it would be better. But actually, I don't want to have a job. I don't want to work for anybody. You know, something, I've always wanted to own a business. And I just never thought that I could do that because I was discouraged from doing it in the past. But you know what? What's stopping me? There's nothing stopping me from owning a business, so I'm going to do it, right? You get this 10 of Swords energy, it turns into an Ace of Swords energy. Or really, it turns into a Page of Swords, a Knave of Swords. Like, you're ready to go on, you're ready to glow up. You've gotten to a new echelon of consciousness, okay? And that is not as abstract as we think it is. When you start studying sociology, for instance, you develop a social consciousness where perhaps you may not have known the structures of the social world before, but because you now are studying sociology, you develop sociological consciousness. Perhaps you didn't know about race relations before, and you develop a racial consciousness. You develop gender consciousness. You didn't know these things before, and now you do. And it changes your perspective, the way that you see things. It's as simple as that. Okay. You've reached this level up, and you know, it's, to me, like, this person is reaching back behind them to take other people with them. This is one, so it's energy. You're reaching back to that old life to take these people with you, but they're not willing to level up. They're not on the same journey as you. Maybe somewhere down the line, y'all will come back into alignment, but right now it's not giving what it needs to give. And that's a heartbreaking realization, but it just is what it is. And it's not like you're trying to like stun on them and go higher than them for that reason. It's because this is your fulfillment. This is what your destiny is. This is where you're meant to go in life. You feel me? So these other three friends, they fall off at different degrees to different degrees. You might get into conflict with some of them and like maybe have a falling out with some of them. Some of them, they just fall off. Y'all don't really talk anymore. It is what it is. But then others of them, the fifth person who I said is your divine counterpart, one of your divine counterparts. They are a part of your divine union. They are a part of your best life. They are growing at about the same rate as you. They are expanding their consciousness in similar ways, and they are willing and committed to developing in their expression of life alongside you in a similar way. In their own life. They're not at all worried about what's going on in your life. They're not codependent. When you need them, they're there for you to the extent that they can be. They don't overgive what they can't afford to give. When they need you, if you're not available, they understand that. Okay, because it's a reciprocal relationship where y'all are pouring into one another. It's an 8-year, 8, the infinity symbol. You're pouring into one another equally and evenly. Y'all are on your separate journeys together, but as I said, separate journeys together. You are resonant with one another. Now, as you've gotten rid of those 4 karmic relationships, your life just keeps on upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. Why? Because that energy that was keeping you back, that was keeping you down in a lower vibrational frequency, it was keeping you out of resonance with the life that you're supposed to be living, out of resonance, out of alignment, okay? Out of that space. You couldn't enter into those rooms before when you were hanging out with those people. You didn't have the confidence. You didn't even know where to look to find these people, right? But now you do, because you've leveled up and you've changed and you've developed this consciousness that has allowed you to come into this. So you are full of wealth. and abundance. It's time for you to water your garden. You've been watering your garden, and you've been going up against adversarial energy. You've been going up against karmic energy. But you've continued to water your garden. Look how different these cards are. Walking with blind faith that you know where you're supposed to be going. Protecting your peace and protecting your truth by standing in your integrity. Swords equals mental faculties, air energy. So you know your principles, you know your structures and standards for your life. You're not willing to allow anyone in your life who is going to compromise you reaching fulfillment, you being in this Queen of Cups energy. And it might look like you're losing so much, but have you really lost that much when it wasn't good anyway? Those things were of a deficit. Okay, let's say that your friend here, your counterpart is let's say that they're at 0. Okay, no, let's say that they're at 10. They're at 10. This person is a -10, and these people are -2, -3, -7. You know what I mean? You get rid of that -10. So add all that up. That's these two equal to 0, -2, -3, -7. That's -12. You get rid of -10. And that's -2 plus 10. So now you're at an 8. 2. Okay. Wait. -2. -3. That's 5. -7. Oh, it's a 22. -22 actually. So now we're at -12. Then we get to -10? Yeah, -10. Then we get to -7. Then we just jump right to 10. That's what's happening with this Sagittarius moon. Excuse me for just a second. Okay, so that's what's happening with this Sagittarius new moon, full moon, because we've been pulled all the way back. You have to understand that's what happens with an arrow. You get pulled, you knock your arrow, you put it in there. Let's say that that's kind of the Ace of Swords, and you pull it all the way back, and then you let it fly. But you have to pull it all the way back and experience that tension. If you've never shot an arrow, so funny. I am a Sagittarius, and I have done archery. It's a lot of tension. It's really heavy, like it's weighty, to pull back to shoot an arrow. And so it flies forward beyond you. This is what is happening. So though it may feel like this Queen of Pentacles in reverse energy, that's really not what it is. This Tower energy has been taking you out of this Queen of Pentacles energy, because you had to realize the gravity of what these relationships were doing to you. You had to be vulnerable. You had to really be brought to your knees to surrender to the truth, so that finally the Wheel of Fortune could turn in your favor. And these people are going to get their karmic experience. And a lot of it is losing you. Losing you is the exact Tower moment that they needed to understand that they're at rock bottom. Some of them are going to move forward. They're going to receive their karma. Some of them are going to move forward. Some of them are not. But I know what you get is this. what you get is that eternal flow. And you may be presented with opportunities to move backwards, but I encourage you not to because you know better. Okay? The Three of Pentacles, Queen of Wands, and the Magician. And the Temperance card with the Emperor in reverse, Knave of Pentacles in reverse, Three of Wands in reverse, and Knight of Pentacles in reverse. I do feel like you just need to be patient. Everything is coming to you. Everything is happening as it's meant to. Just give it a little bit more time and open up to receiving, because what is for you is not going to miss you. And this is your inheritance for doing the work, chosen ones. Okay, I love you all truly and deeply. I have got to go, and I hope that this was helpful. Happy hunting.